The sound of wood splitting at midnight is something you never forget. And for me, it became a sick rhythm in my life, because every time I heard that crack and groan, it meant my gate, my line in the sand, was being destroyed again by the same person, the same smug woman who thought she owned everything she touched. The president of the Pine Valley Homeowners Association, a woman named Linda. She drove her spotless white SUV straight through my gate like it was tissue paper, never slowing, never asking permission. And each time it happened, I stood there, fists clenched, telling myself it couldn't get worse, but it always did. And the day I finally decided to set a trap for her, I knew it wasn't just about wood and hinges anymore. It was about respect, about whether my land was truly mine, or whether some HOA tyrant could just take it because she felt like it. When I bought that ranch, I imagined peace, not war. I'd spent 3 decades breathing drywall dust, hammering nails, following HOA notices that told me what color mailbox I could have, what length my grass had to be, and when I finally saved enough. I thought I'd left all that behind. My place sat right outside their jurisdiction, and that gate I built with my own hands. It wasn't just wood, it was freedom. But Linda, she didn't see freedom. She saw a shortcut, the first time she drove through. I thought maybe GPS got her lost. The second time, I realized it wasn't an accident. The third time, when she smirked and said, "You ought to keep this open. Saves me 10 minutes." I knew she was daring me. And I'll tell you something, I'm not the kind of man who lets dares slide. Not on my own land. I tried reason at first. I told her, "Ma'am, this is private property. You're trespassing." She leaned on her window, chin tilted high, and said, "Don't be selfish. This is community spirit. We all benefit." Then she rolled on through, spraying gravel across my boots like punctuation. My blood boiled. Later, at the feed store, a couple of old-timers shook their heads and said, "She runs that HOA like a kingdom. Best to let her be." But I couldn't let her be. Every time she smashed that gate, I felt like she was smashing me, laughing at me, calling me weak. The worst part? Others started following. Soon I saw the treasurer's minivan, another board member's sedan, rolling across my pasture like it was their private road. It wasn't random. It was organized. Linda was turning my land into her HOA's driveway. One day, an envelope showed up in my mailbox, HOA letterhead, violation notice. According to them, my gate was unsightly and had to be removed. Removed? On land they had no authority over. I laughed at first, but then I realized this wasn't just arrogance. It was strategy. They were trying to paper me into submission. And I'll admit, there was a night I sat on my porch, letter trembling in my hand, and I asked myself if maybe I should just give in. Maybe the fight wasn't worth it. I thought about all the repairs, the nights I woke to the sound of my dogs barking, the endless cycle of rebuild and break. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was the crazy one clinging to a wooden gate. That doubt nearly crushed me. But then I drove to the county clerk, pulled the deed, and saw it black and white, my land, my road, my gate. That moment lit something inside me. If I gave up now, it wouldn't just be a gate lost, it would be me. And I wasn't ready to hand myself over to Linda. So the next time she showed up, bold as ever, I stood my ground. She declared, "The board will vote to remove this gate tomorrow." I looked her in the eye and said, "You've got your board, Linda, but I've got something better, a backbone and a plan." She sneered, but I saw the flicker of doubt. That was when I knew I wasn't patching anymore. I was preparing. I went to work like I had on every construction site before, except this time, the blueprint wasn't for a home. It was for a trap. Steel beams salvaged from an old job, concrete footings sunk 6 feet deep, rebar cages reinforced until each post could withstand a hurricane. On the outside, it looked like the same rustic cedar gate she'd splintered so many times. But hidden inside was a fortress, and beyond the gate, camouflaged under gravel, I laid shallow trenches filled with steel teeth, tire poppers waiting silent and patient. At night, lantern light flickered on steel as I welded, sweat stinging my eyes, my dogs watching from the porch as if they knew their master was preparing for war. Hank, my neighbor, stopped by and shook his head. "You're playing with fire," he said. I just smiled. "Then I'll make sure it burns her, not me." He stayed to help me tighten bolts, test welds, and when we stepped back, the thing stood proud, looked like wood, but felt like justice. And Linda knew something was brewing. I caught her SUV parked just outside, engine idling, phone raised like she was recording me. She sneered, "You can't stop progress." I didn't even look up from my welding mask. "No," I said, sparks flying. "But I can stop you." She drove off, spitting gravel, and I kept working, knowing she couldn't resist testing me again. It happened faster than I thought. A Saturday afternoon, clear skies. I was sipping coffee on my porch when I heard that familiar growl. Dust rose in the distance. Then I saw her. Perfect hair, oversized sunglasses, jaw tight with smug determination. And behind her, 2 more HOA vehicles, a convoy of arrogance. She didn't slow. She hit the gas harder. The sound of impact was like a gunshot. But this time, my gate didn't give. Her SUV crumpled, metal screeching, airbags exploding white smoke. Tires hit the hidden trench and shredded instantly. Pop, pop, pop. The whole vehicle sagging like a wounded beast. The minivan behind her swerved into a ditch. The sedan slammed brakes, horn blaring. Dust hung heavy. Then silence. And then came her scream. She stumbled out coughing, eyes wild, pointing at me. "What have you done? This is illegal," she shrieked. I stayed seated, calm as Sunday morning. "What I've done," I called back, "is stop you from trespassing." She yelled about endangerment, about laws, about how she was president. I stood, walked down, and pointed at the tiny red lights blinking on the posts. "It's all on camera. Linda, every time you smashed through, every threat, every violation, you chose this." Neighbors gathered, phones out, some chuckling. One shouted, "Looks like the Queen lost her crown." Laughter rippled. Her board members climbed out, humiliated, one still clutching his clipboard like a shield. The sheriff arrived, took one look, and asked what happened. Linda ran to him, screaming, "He set a trap. He endangered us." He turned to me. "That true?" I shook my head, handed him the footage. He frowned, then looked at her. "Ma'am, if this is what it looks like, you're the one trespassing." The crowd erupted, cameras flashing, and for once, Linda had nothing to say. I thought that was the end. But Linda wasn't built to admit defeat. Days later, another envelope arrived, legal action. They were suing me for reckless endangerment, property damage, even emotional distress. They wanted me to pay for her SUV repairs. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. But the anger simmered underneath. That's when I hired Martha, a property lawyer sharper than barbed wire. She flipped through their claims and smirked. "Classic HOA overreach," she said. "They don't have a leg to stand on. Let's hit back." And we did. We filed trespassing, harassment, destruction of property, even attempted fraud with those fake fines. This time, I wasn't alone. Court was the final battlefield. Linda strutted in, wearing a red suit, binder stacks like weapons, her board trailing like nervous ducklings. Her lawyer spun tales of me as a dangerous recluse, obsessed with imaginary property rights. Then Martha stood, calm as stone, and said, "Your Honor, the evidence speaks louder than stories." She clicked a remote, and the footage lit up the courtroom. Linda's SUV slamming into my gate, tires ripping, her shouting, "Community easement," like it was gospel. Every smirk, every trespass, on full display. By the time it ended, even the judge looked unimpressed. And when Linda took the stand, she unraveled. "I am the president," she shouted. "He can't defy me. He can't defy the association." The judge slammed the gavel. "This is a court of law, not your board meeting. Sit down." Her face drained of color. The ruling came swift. The HOA's case dismissed. Their fines exposed as fraudulent. Linda and her board ordered to pay damages for trespassing and property destruction. The footage went public record, leaked online within days, and soon the whole town was watching clips of her SUV bouncing off my gate. Memes exploded. Linda versus the gate of justice. Neighbors finally spoke up. Stories of her bullying poured out. Board members resigned one by one. Her empire crumbled. Her crown shattered. And Pine Valley was never the same. As for me, I finally sat on my porch without fear, coffee in hand, watching the sun sink behind my new gate, the one that stood tall not just as steel and cedar, but as proof I hadn't bent, hadn't broken. Linda never drove through again. I'd built more than a barrier. I'd built respect, and that was something she couldn't tear down. And if you ask me the lesson, boundaries matter. Protect them, defend them, and never let anyone, HOA or otherwise, trample through them like they don't exist. This is my story, and you're hearing it on HOA Drama Unfolded.